All right, guys, it's time for our math lesson. So if you've looked at it and you're not sure what to do, I'm here to try to help you. It's called Estimate Products. It's page 338 in the textbook. So if your book isn't open, if you want to go get it, go ahead. And I'm going to kind of talk to you about what you're going to be doing in this lesson. So we've estimated before. An estimate is another way of rounding. I know it's been a while since we rounded, but we've done it a lot. So let's just go over what rounding is so you know how to get your answers today. This entire lesson is about estimating. You're going to be rounding answers. You're not doing any type of double-digit multiplication yet. You need to know your facts, like I said yesterday, but it's about rounding. So they go over two different types of rounding in this lesson, or estimating. One is rounding, which is what we know, and the other one is called front-end estimation. I'm going to explain both of them to you. Front-end estimation is actually rather easy, but I'll show you. Okay, so the first thing we can't forget is how to round. Rounding, there are two rules. Well, first of all, estimating is when you find the answer that's about right. It's not the exact answer. It tells about how much or about how many, and that's what the book says. So, rounding, two rules. Let's remember, 5 or more, you raise the score. 4 or less, you let it rest. You never round down. So you're either going up to the next number or you're leaving the number where it is. And I remember way back in September and October when we did this, some people were actually dropping the number down, and you never do that. So look at the two examples. These are just two that I made up. If you've got the number 62, so you're going to look at the number to the right. So you've got the number 6, and then you're looking at the number to the right, the number that I have the box on. If you want to put this in your journal, this is something that we have done before, but if you want to put it in again, go ahead and copy it, okay? So 62, I'm looking at the number that's boxed. That number is 2. So what am I going to do with the 6 if I'm rounding to the nearest 10? Am I going to raise the score? Am I going to let it rest? You're going to let it rest. It doesn't drop down to 5. It stays a 6. So 62, you let it rest. You round down, it is 60. Now we're going to look at the next number for 78. So I'm rounding to the nearest 10. So I'm looking at the ones place, which is an 8. Here are your two rules. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. What are you going to do? The 8 rounds up to 80. 5 or more, we raise the score, so the 7 changes to an 8. Okay? 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, raise the score. This is rounding to the tens place. It's the same when you have to round to the hundreds place too. Okay? I don't see any numbers higher than 100 in this lesson, so I think we'll be okay. Same thing goes for one in the hundreds place. I'm going to do a quick example for you here. So if you have the number 423, okay, 423, and we're going to round to the hundreds place. You need to know where your hundreds place is, right? Here's your hundreds place. I'm going to underline it, and then I'm going to box the tens place. So I'm looking at the 2. Okay, your rules. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. 423. Is that 4 going to go up to a 5, or is it going to stay a 4 when there's a 2 next to it? You let it rest. So 423 rounds to 400. Okay, the other type of estimating they're doing, it's actually a little bit easier. We haven't talked about it before. You'll talk about it next year, so I'm kind of glad we're talking about this right now. Front-end estimation, you're not doing any rounding. Any rounding. You are going to look at the front digit, and that's the number that you're going to use. So there's an example in the book that says $5.75 times 400. You're going to use front-end estimation for the first number. So because the first digit, this hundreds place is a 5, you're going to keep the number a 5. You're not rounding up. You're not letting it rest. You're not looking at the other digit. It's just going to stay a 5. So front-end estimation, you just look at the first number. So let me give you another example. I think this one is actually an easier one. So if you've got $2.78 and you're doing front-end estimation, you're looking at the 2. So that number, just look at the 2. $2. No rounding, no anything. This one's actually easier. So some of the problems in the book are going to want you to do both. They're going to want you to round, then they're going to want you to do front-end estimation. So you're going to have 2 answers, and that's okay. So if you're looking at your book on page 338, numbers 1 through 10 says to multiply mentally. Some of you guys are really good at that. So this is your chance. You can multiply mentally. There's a lot of problems in this lesson. We've asked you to do the odds. So don't get nervous about anything like that. So the first problem, it says it's 20 or 2 times 20. Okay? And the question says, multiply mentally and describe any patterns you use. Now, remember what we did yesterday. Remember what you did for homework and in class. When you add a 0, the 2 times 2, that answer stays the same, right? You're just adding the 0. So the answer is 40. Now, you're going to do number 2. So when you do all 10 of these, I'm going to do number 2 with you. I know you're just doing the odds, but I'm just giving it to you as an example. So number 2 is 2 times 30. Now, some of you probably already see a pattern. Without looking at the answers and just looking at the problems 1 through 10, what pattern do you see? Math is nothing but patterns. What's 2 times 3? That's 6, and then you add the 0. Okay? That's 1 through 10. The other page 339, is going to ask you to use the front-end estimation. They want you to do both. Okay? It says round, then estimate. I know it's a lot. That's why we gave you the odds. So, rounding is the one where you have to look at the digit to the right. So you're either looking at the ones place or you're looking at the tens place. Front-end estimation, you're just looking at that first number. That's what it's going to stay. You're not rounding at all. Okay? Hopefully this helps. It's a little bit different than what we're used to. Do the odds, but then do the 2-word problems at the bottom. Same thing for the homework. It might take a little bit of time, but know your facts. Put the zeros behind it. That's what they want you to do. All right? Good luck.